Hi, good morning, boys and girls. Today I'd like you to take out this passage. It says a stinky flower. Remember that you can pause the video at any time if I'm going too fast or you need to find the passage. Today we're going to read a stinky flower and the flower Amy would not get. So a stinky flower is our non-fiction passage. So this is a passage of something that is true. Skunk cabbage is a plant. It grows in swampy areas. Swampy areas are low and wet. How does a skunk cabbage flower smell? It does not smell nice. It stinks. It smells like decaying flesh. It smells like rotting meat. It is a good smell for skunk cabbage because flies like the smell. This is because flies lay their eggs in rotting flesh. Flies go to the skunk cabbage. They go to find a place to lay their eggs. The flies walk on the plant. They crawl all over it. As the flies crawl all over the flower, they get covered. They get covered with pollen. The pollen is from the plant. When the flies fly away, they carry the pollen with them. The flies fly to other skunk cabbages. They find the plants by their smell. Pollen on the flies rubs off on other skunk cabbage flowers. The pollen makes it so something can happen. It makes it so new skunk cabbage seeds can begin to grow. And you can see a picture of the plant. You can see the flies. I don't know about you, but I don't think I want to smell skunk cabbage. I think that smells pretty yucky. Let's take a look at our next passage, which is fiction, not real. The flower Amy would not get. Amy's aunt said, "Amy, I like flowers. Flowers smell nice. I like the way they smell. Please go get me some flowers. I will put them in a vase. I will put the vase on the table. Amy, you can get me any kind of flower in the world. All flowers will make my house smell nice." Amy said, "No. Aunt," she said, "I will not get you any kind of flower. I will not get you the biggest flower in the world. The biggest flower in the world is the oh boy, that's a tough one, especially for me to read kind of upside down. Rafflesia flower. It was discovered in 1818. It was discovered in the jungle. How big does this flower grow? It can go 3 feet or 91 centimeters across. It can weigh 25 pounds or 11 kilograms. Does this flower smell nice? Ooh, no, it does not. It stinks. It smells like a dead animal. Amy's aunt said, "Amy, I have changed my mind. Please do not get me any kind of flower in the world. Get me flowers to fit in my vase. Get me flowers that smell nice." So looking at both passages, right off the top, even though one is nonfiction and one is fiction, I can tell they're both about flowers that don't smell very good. Question number 1. Flies go to skunk cabbages because A, they want to eat rotting meat. B, they are looking for seeds to eat. C, they want to get covered in pollen. D, they are looking for a place to lay their eggs. I want you to go back into the passage, find why they go there. It's paragraph 2. You can highlight where you found your answer. That tells why they go there. And the answer would be D. They are looking for a place to lay their eggs. Number 2, when was the biggest flower in the world discovered? So now I need to go back to the second passage. And I need to find when it was discovered. Again, this is going to be in the second paragraph. So pause the video while you find that. And then you can highlight your answer. When I highlight my answer, I know that I found the correct answer and I'm not just guessing because I'm rereading it. It was discovered in 1818. So when I go back over to question number 2, I know I'm looking for 1818. Question number 3. What are both stories about? Which I kind of gave you a clue to earlier. Big flowers, flowers that stink, pollen from flowers, or discovering flowers. Both passages. Flowers that stink. I know, I like pretty flowers and flowers that smell good, like roses and carnations and lilies. I don't think I would want one of these stinky flowers. Question number 4. Most likely, the biggest flower in the world stinks like a dead animal because its pollen is too big for a vase, stinks like decaying flesh, is spread the same way as skunk cabbage pollen, is eaten by flies that like the smell of rotting meat. So they're asking you to kind of go back in the passage and most likely, why do you think that? You might not find the exact answer. We might have to read around to find that answer. The biggest flower in the world stinks like a dead animal because. So if I go back and I'm looking, and I'm trying to think, it doesn't tell me exactly why it doesn't smell nice. It tells me it was discovered in the jungle, how big it would grow, how much it can weigh. Does it smell nice? No, it doesn't smell nice. Why would I think that? And I'm looking for where it might tell me about the pollen and the bees around it. It's kind of a tricky one. I'm going to put it smells like decaying fish. B. And when I look back up in paragraph 1, one of the things that helped me was I saw that sentence there. Question 5. The story The Flower Amy Would Not Get is made up. We talked about that being fiction. It is not a true story, but it has true facts in it. What answer is a fact and not just part of the story? Amy's aunt said, I like flowers. Amy told her aunt about the Rafflesia flower. Amy's aunt wanted flowers to put in her vase. The biggest flower in the world is the Rafflesia flower. So which one would be a true fact in the real world, not something that was fiction? So when I'm looking at those answers, right off of the top, I see answers that talk about Amy or Amy's aunt. I know they're not real people. I know they were made up as fictional characters in the story. So none of them could be really real because Amy doesn't exist. Her aunt doesn't exist. So as a strategy, I'm going to cross out the ones that have the word Amy in them, because I know that anything that says Amy isn't going to be a fact. But I do know that this flower is the largest flower in the world. Now, when you flip over to the back side, practice your handwriting. Pick a word from one of the stories to write on the line below. So again, you're not writing a sentence, you're just picking one word, and you're going to write it in your best handwriting. I picked the word flower, and I wrote it in both print and in cursive. So go ahead and pause while you do that. Okay? Circle what happens first in each group. Flies get covered in pollen. Flies crawl on the flower. So we can go back into the passage, and then we can read about what happens. So when I go back, I see right here, first, The flies crawl over it. Then comes the step with the pollen. So I'm going to circle the flies crawl on the flower. Skunk cabbage flowers stink. Flies find skunk cabbage flowers. So I can look back again and see that first the flower has to stink. Because first it has to smell bad before the flies can find it. People talked in one story. List who talked in the story. Okay, so the first passage was just our nonfiction passage talking about skunk cabbage. Our second passage had Amy and her aunt. So what I'm going to fill in there, people who talked in one story, list who talked in the story. I'm going to put Amy and her aunt. Okay. Now you can take your time on the bottom. Write one or more sentences that tell what each story is about. A Stinky Flower is about, and you want to fill in what that story was about. A nonfiction passage about the skunk cabbage and flies. The Flower Amy Would Not Get is a passage about a fictional story, the largest flower in the world. You could put any of those ideas in there, making sure you end with a period. On the bottom, why do you think flowers smell? Talk about the skunk cabbage and the rafflesia flower in your answer. So down here, give me an answer why you think flowers smell. And make sure that you start with an uppercase letter and end with a period in all of your sentences.